right, here's our review for the fall semester exam. All right, so, all right, number one, what is the solution to the inequality below? Now, there's two ways to do it. You can solve it by hand, or you can go to Desmos and you type it in with brackets. Let me show you. Negative 4 x plus 2. You keep it as x, okay? If you don't keep it as x, it's not going to work. But, okay, now you'll notice there's a graph here, and what I'm concerned about is where does it start? So it starts right there. You see how it says negative 6, positive 1. So that means it's starting at negative 6, and it's going to the right. So my answer has to have x and negative 6. The question is, what's the inequality? So this is where it's important. Which direction does it go? If it's going to the right, that is a greater than, because the greater numbers are to the right. So I'm going to put a greater than sign. And then I got to look back at my original equation. Do you see how it's underlined here? That means it's shaded in here, inclusive. So it's going to be underlined here. Okay. You can't just put greater than, or equal to negative 6. Now, for fun, I'm going to solve it by hand. But I suggest the Desmos way. It's the easiest way. Okay. So it's by hand over here. So you would PEMDAS, P inside, there's nothing you can do, but you can distribute into the parentheses negative 4x, and then negative 4 times 2 is negative 8. And then you get rid of the loner, the opposite of minus 8 is plus 8 on both sides. Negative 4x less than or equal to 24. And then to get rid of this coefficient, we divide by negative 4, divide by negative 4. Now, since we divided by a negative, it's very important that you see that this is going to be a greater than or equal to situation because we divided by a negative. Very, very important. Okay, and 24 divided by negative 4 is negative 6. So no matter how you do it, using Desmos or solving it by hand, you know, two ways. I suggest Desmos. It's a little bit easier. Okay. Now, what is the solution to this equation? So it's an equation. So this one you're going to use Desmos, but instead of x, you're going to use the letter n, and instead of equals, you're going to use a squiggle. So it's going to be what? 7n minus 2 squiggle 6n plus 10. Cannot draw a plus sign right now. Whatever. All right. Let's type it in. Here we go. 7n minus 2 squiggle 6n plus 10. When I do that under parameters, it says n equals 12. That's what I wanted to know what n is. So that means the original equation, that's what x is. X is 12 using Desmos, okay? All right. The other way to do it is um, by hand. X cannot be on both sides, so we're going to get rid of the smaller x. Minus 6x is the opposite. Minus 6x. 7 minus 6 is 1x. Bring down minus 2. Bring down equals. This canceled out. And then you have a positive 10 over this side. Had to get rid of that minus 2. Plus 2. Plus 2. And what's 10 plus 2? 12. Sorry. So x equals 12. You can do it in Desmos, the easy way, or by hand. Both are great, but for this star test, I would suggest Desmos, okay? Again, here, Desmos. Let's turn x into n and equals into tilde, squiggle, right? So it's going to be 4, 3n plus 1, squiggle, 9n minus 5. Here we go. Or parentheses 3n plus 1 parentheses squiggle 9n minus 5. We got n equals negative 3, so the answer is negative 3. Okay, that's Desmos. And then by hand, if you want to do it by hand. Once again, parentheses, you want to distribute. So 4 times 3x is 12x. 4 times 1 is 4. Equals 9x minus 5. And then you have x on both sides of the equation, so we can get rid of the smaller x. The smaller x is 9x, so it's positive. We're going to subtract 9x. Subtract 9x. 12 minus 9 is 3x. Bring down plus 4 equals. Bring down negative 5. Get rid of that positive 4. The opposite is minus 4 on both sides. So we get 3x equals negative 5 minus 4 is negative 9. And then we divide by 3, and we get negative 9 divided by 3 is negative 3. Cool. So whether you type it in Desmos with n in squiggle, or you solve it by hand using order of operations, making no mistakes, you get negative 3. Cool. All right, another one. So again, this one I'm just going to stick with Desmos. Okay, Desmos. X turns into n, equals turns into squiggle. Okay, let's type it in over here. All right, negative 2 parentheses n minus 4 plus 5 parentheses n plus 2 parentheses squiggle 30. We get n equals 4. Boom. Okay, now that's Desmos. And then if you want to do it by hand, okay, here's how you do it. You distribute. Whoa, 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 whoa. Come on. Okay. You're distributing the negative 2, and you're distributing the 5. So you get negative 2x plus 8. Distribute the 5, you get 5x plus 10. Now this is different than the last two because You have two x's on the same side. You're going to have to combine like terms. Negative 2 plus 5 is 3x. 8 plus 10 is 18. So again, combined like terms. Then we get rid of the loner by doing the opposite. We get 3x equals 12. 30 minus 18 is 12. Divided by 3, you should get 4. All right, here's a problem. In 2010, a certain restaurant sold a hamburger for $2. 2020, that hamburger now costs $5. What is the average rate of change in the cost of hamburger in dollars per year? So when we have x and y, we're going to have dollars as our y, per year as our x. So we can make a little table. All right, so 2010, and then for $2, and then 2020 was $5. Okay, what is the average rate of change? Do y'all remember Rady? Rady the math cat? Per, right? Per year. Rady, that's talking about slope. That's the M. So if you remember, you can go to Desmos, put in a table, and then you have to type in the next line y1 squiggle mx1 plus b, and then we're going to look at that m value, right? Well, let's try that. There we go, plus sign. Let me just make sure I have that. You do the plus sign and then the table, right? All right, so table, we're doing 2010, that was $2, and then 2020, that is $5. And remember, we're typing y1 squiggle m x1 plus b. Right here, my m is 0.3, okay? Now, remember, don't we usually see slope as a fraction? So, can we get a fraction for 0.3? Well, you type in 0.3 to the next line, click this circle, the fraction circle. It's going to convert it for us to 3/10. Alrighty. Oh my gosh. Cool. Now, the other way you could have done this, the old-fashioned bird beak way, is on the sides, you take the change in y over change in x, change in y over change in x. You do the bird beaks, bottom minus top over bottom minus top. So you get what? 5 minus 2 over 2020 minus 2010. And then we do the math. 5 minus 2 is 3. 2020 minus 2010 is 10. No matter how you do it, you get 3/10. Cool. 0.3 is fine as a decimal. All right, let's go. Find the slope given the line. All right. Now you could do it in Desmos the way we kind of just did it. Like if you have 2 points, you can make a table and do the y1 squiggle mx1 plus b. But on a graph, you just need 2 points on the grid. Remember, you're doing the gritty when you're looking at these points, all right? And so two gritty points. Some people call them pretty points, but not me. That's weird. All right, and then you do what? Start on the left. You count the rise up or down, right? Up is positive, down is negative, and then you count the run to the right, always to the right, because it started on the left. Okay, and then you make that a fraction. Reduce it if you need to, but starting on the left, this one is further to the left. I rise 2, up 2, that's positive, and I run 3 to the right. So it's 2/3. That's my slope, my rate of change, my radii, my per, my m, however you want to call it. That's your slope. Cool. Number 7, write the equation of a line in slope-intercept. Remember, that's y equals form. That passes through this point and has the slope, okay, of 8. So if you have a point and a slope of 8, well, you're going to be able to use your formula charts, but we're going to need to use point, slope, form. So point, slope, form is what? Y minus y1 equals mx minus x1. Okay. Now, when you have a point, that's x1 and y1, and then you have a slope, that 8 is going to be m. Okay. So I'm going to leave y there, and minus y1 means minus -1. Minus -1. Okay. Now, if you already know that turns into a plus sign, great. Now this m is 8, parentheses, x stays x, and then you're going to do minus x1, which is -2. Okay? Now, those minus negatives, I'm going to turn those into plus signs. Okay? And if I'm solving for y to get slope-intercept form, first I'm going to distribute this slope 8 into the parentheses. So y plus 1, 8 times x is 8x, and then 8 times 2 is 16, so plus 16. And then last step to get rid of this plus 1, minus 1, minus 1, we get y equals 8x plus 16 minus 1 is 15. That's it. You got to start with point slope because they give you a point and a slope, but you got to end up with y equals for slope-intercept form. Alrighty, next one, write the equation in the slope-intercept form, which again is a y equals form of a line that passes through 2 points, okay, 4, 1 and -2, 3. Now, this time we have points, but we have no slope. Slope equals question mark. Oh, we need the slope formula first. Okay, now there's a way to do this the long way, slope formula, okay, but I want you to remember there's the Desmos way. In Desmos, you can do table and do y1 squiggle mx1 plus b, right? Make a little table. You got 4, 1. You got -2, 13. Let's try this. So we hit plus sign table, 4, 1, -2, 13. We just got to type y1 squiggle mx1 plus b. Okay, you can type that. Hey, there's -2 and 9 as my m and my b. Okay. Well, if I know m and b, I can write y equals mx plus b, -2x plus 9. That's it. That's the easy way. I suggest doing it that way. Let me show you the long way. Slope formula is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So you got your, x1, y1. You got your x2 and your y2. So you're going to do, it's basically like the bird beaks, bottom minus top, bottom minus top. But you're going to do 13 minus 1 over -2 minus 4. So you get what? 12 over -6, and you get -2 as your slope, which we already knew from earlier, but we figured it out using slope formula. And now we do point slope formula. Y minus y1 equals mx minus x1. So again, we're going to use that first point as my x1, y1, and my slope, my m, is now -2. So y minus 1 equals -2 x minus 4. Distribute that -2. You get -2x plus 8. Last step to get rid of this -1, you add a 1 to both sides, and you get y equals -2x plus 9. All right? No matter how you do it, by hand or by Desmos, okay, you can get the answer. All right, let's keep going. Given this function, what is the value of f of -5? So you're going to substitute x with -5. So -5 is going to go right there. So f of -5 equals 9. And then instead of x, -5 and then plus 5. So what does that equal? PEMDAS says parentheses first, -5 plus 5 is 0. Okay. And then 9 times 0 is 0. So f of -5 is 0. Okay. Explain why the following table does not represent a function. Does or does not. So remember, for a function, x can not repeat. So I got 8, 7, 6. It's a function. Yes, it is. Why? X does not repeat. The more mathematical way to say it is each x has one unique y value. There's no x with two different, there's not an x that happens twice, the same x, giving you two different y's. That would violate each x having a unique y value. Find the domain. All right. Now, domain is interval, and then there's uh, inequality notation. So remember, domain is x from left to right. So how far to the left does this go? So this is right here at -2, and it's shaded in. So I'm going to put -2, and remember, actually, let me remind you this. You put domain x in the middle, less than, less than. The left is -2, so you put it on the left. Is the inequality going to be underlined? If it's shaded in, yes. And then over here, now this x value right here is 2. So put 2 here. Okay, and since this one is open, Well, that's not going to be underlined, okay? So another way of doing it is interval notation, where you put these two numbers, -2, comma 2. Since it's shaded on the left, it's a bracket, and then on the right, since it's open, I put a parentheses, okay? Two different ways to do it. Now remember, range is y, and then since it is range is y, that's vertical. Hold on one second. And it's from bottom to top. Okay, very important that you start at the bottom. So similarly, this time we're going to put a y in the middle, less than, less than. How far down does this line go? This line at the bottom here is at -4. Negative, oy, oy, oy. Hold on. Ay, ay, ay. Back it up, 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 back it up. Oh. All right. My bad. Looking at these numbers, this is supposed to be 1. This is supposed to be 1. I was counting these little boxes, but if this is 2, then this is 1. And that's my bad. So those are supposed to be 1s there. Okay. Looking over here, this number right here is -3. Okay. Right. This is -3 right here. So the bottom of the y value is -3, but the top, way up here, is at +3. All right. Now the bottom is shaded, so we want to underline it, and the top is open, so we leave that one not underlined, okay? Another way to think about it is you write these two numbers, -3, comma 3. Since the bottom is shaded, we put a bracket. Since the top is open, we put a parentheses, all right, so let's go ahead and go to the next one. All right, find the domain of the following. Now, domain, again, is x from left to right. Now, since this is discrete, it's disconnected, we're going to use brackets and just go from left to right. So looking at these points, the furthest to the left right here is -2, comma. The next one over is right here, -1, comma. The next one over is 0, comma. The next one over is right here at 2, comma. The next one over is over here at 5. Bracket. Okay. Similarly with range, okay, it's y from bottom to top. We're going to use brackets and start at the bottom. So what's the lowest point you see here? -3. Then it's -1. Then it's 0. But notice up here, 4 has 2 points. You only write it once. You do not repeat. Okay? Do not repeat. Numbers. Cool. Let's keep going. 15. Given the graph, write the equation in point slope form. Okay? So first I need a point right here. So my point is going to be -1 comma -3. Now my slope, I just have to count the rise over run from this point to the next grid point. Rise up 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to the right. So point slope form, remember, is y minus y1 m x minus x1. So it's going to be y minus y1 is -3, so +3, minus that -3 turns into a plus. M is 1 over 5. X, and then minus -1 is going to be a +1. That's it. It says just to write it in point slope form. It's going to stay in this point slope form. Okay? That's it. Plot this graph. Now, remember, when we have mx plus b, first it's b for the beginning, and then second is the m, you're going to rise over run. Cool. All right, so let's begin at -4, right? So put a point there. And then my slope is rise over run, rise 2, run 3, put a point there. Make a nice straight line. Now, what I just did was wrong because this is dashed because it's not underlined. And then this is greater shaded above. Greater means shaded above. So for these 2 points, I need to make a dash, 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 dash. Okay? A nice dash line, and I have to shade it above. Cool. Keep going. Find the indicated information. So remember, slope, I need griddy points. So here's on the grid, and the next griddy point is right here. So up to, these aren't grid points. They're not exactly on the grid. But over here, 5, 6, 7, slope is 2 over 7. No big deal. Y-intercept is on the y-axis, right? It's 2 below 0, so that is going to be 0, comma, -2. And then here's the x-axis. The x-intercept is right here at 7 on the x, so 7, comma, 0. Remember, when x is 0, what is y? The y-intercept. And when y is 0, what is x? The x-intercept. Now, last one. Yes. Beans and bagels. A bagel costs $3, and a cup of coffee costs $2. Okay? We'll call x and y. X is bagels, y is coffee. Okay, so we want the quantity equation. I call it items. whatever. This morning they sold a total of 150 items, that's why I call it that, and earned $380. Write a system for the given situation where X represents the number of bagels sold and Y represents the number of coffee sold. So what we do is we add up our items, X plus Y, however many bagels plus however many cups of coffee, however many total items, which we said was 150. Cool. Now we have to have earned total earned equation. I just call it money, however you want to talk about it. But now we're going to add values onto the X and Y. X bagel costs $3, so it's 3X plus Y cup of coffee costs $2, so 2Y. And that equals our total money. Total earned is 380. Sweet. So we got 3x plus 2y equals 380 here. Now, to solve that system, you have to be able to solve each equation for y. So let's do it. Zoom in a little bit if I can. Okay. Remember, when you're solving for y, you have to move over the x, and since it is positive, we're going to subtract x here, subtract x here, and it's going to go in front, because remember, mx goes in front of b, so negative x plus 150 is our equation, and then we're going to do the same thing over here. Sorry about that. There is no coefficient. We're going to get rid of this positive 3x by subtracting 3x and putting it in front. Bring down 2y equals negative 3x goes first, plus 380 goes second. Last step, to get rid of a coefficient 2, divide by 2, divide by 2, and we get negative 3 over 2x plus, and 380 divided by 2. You can leave it like that. We'll just leave it like that. I mean, whatever. Actually, if we go to our thing, 380 divided by 2 is a 190. Okay, sure. Now, we have two equations. All right, so last step, we have to graph these and see where they intersect, okay? So here we go. Y equals negative x plus 150. Now, if you can't see it, you need to zoom out, maybe even a lot, okay? And next one, y equals negative 3 divided by 2, go to the right, x plus 190. All right. Graph in Desmos. Click the intersection. So that's your solution. And your solution, when you click it, is 8070. Now, that's not enough. I have to interpret what does 80, 70 mean? Well, remember, we said X at the top was bagels, right? So 80 bagels and then 70 cups of Joe, cups of coffee. All right, and that's it. Go ahead and make sure you